Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Bryony and I'm one half of the Indecisive Readers. Today I am here to film my August wrap up. In August I read 8 books and 1 half book. I will explain the half book when I get to it. But in August I mostly focused on the books on my NetGalley kind of list. I was aiming to get through a lot of the kind of past ones I had, but I ended up just getting a lot of books that were due out soon, so going for those instead. I think I actually only got to one of the ones that I had from the past year, but it's progress. I felt like I wasn't making any progress with my NetGalley reads for ages, so we gotta take our positives where I can. It wasn't like great in terms of ratings. There were a lot of ones I didn't enjoy, but there were also a few I did enjoy. So the first book I read was Mad, Bad and Dangerous to Know by Samira Ahmed. This book is about a girl called Kayam who goes to Paris for the summer after failing to get a kind of art scholarship. While she's there, she meets a guy called Alexandre Dumas who is related to the author of the same name. She ends up talking to him because he's something to do with the project she was working on, and they find out about this girl called Layla who is a secret mysterious girl that the authors and all the authors and painters from the time were interested in. I picked it up because of the cover, but it sounded really interesting. I really like kind of books, non-fiction books but also fiction books that kind of explore stories from history that we've failed to remember, and so I thought this sounded really interesting, but it ended up focusing more on the romance than the actual history, which I thought was a shame because Kayam was really aware that she needed to kind of find this past, but didn't. And I wish she had. It was very easy to read, but I didn't like the romance. I didn't like either potential love interest because there's kind of a bit of a love triangle. There's more of a focus on that, and it just frustrated me because I didn't particularly like either guy. And yeah, I feel like had that not been there, more time would have been spent on the history, because it almost felt like the romance was meant to be a filler but ended up taking up more pages, and so the history kind of got relegated, which was a shame. I enjoyed like how they kind of intertwined and like learning about her in the past and then seeing how them in the present would find out about her, but it felt like it could have been done better and just kind of missed out. I think Kayam's character was quite interesting because she's like of mixed heritage, so I thought that was quite an interesting discussion, but yeah, could have done more. So I rated this one 3 stars. The next one I read was Dreamland by Bilyeau. This is about a heiress called Peggy who goes on holiday with her family to a really rich and fancy hotel, and then she doesn't want to be there and falls in love with a street artist. It's a book that came out in January. This is my one book that I did get to, and I've been trying to read it since then. I started reading it in January, but it just didn't catch my attention, and the only reason I finished it was because I actually bought the audiobook. So I only rated it 2 stars. The story was fine. It almost felt a bit like The Diviners but without magic. I kind of guess how the mystery would go. I was only really interested in a couple of characters, and so I just, yeah, wouldn't have finished it, wouldn't have picked it back up again if it hadn't been a NetGalley arc, but there were good parts to it and I feel like a lot of people enjoy it, and the setting was quite good. It was set in a really hot, oppressive summer and it worked for the story, but just the story didn't work for me. I wasn't really interested in it, wasn't invested in the characters enough to really care about the mystery, and yeah, rated it 2 stars. The next book I picked up was Who I Was With Her by Nita Tyndall. This is about a girl who fell in love with another runner who went to another school, but no one knew about this relationship because she wanted to keep it secret because she wasn't ready to come out as bisexual. But then the girlfriend dies and she's mourning this death, but she doesn't really know how to process at all, let alone on her own. And then she comes across the girlfriend's ex, and finds that she's really the only one she can connect with. I got sent this by the publisher, which I was really excited about. It was on my anticipated releases for the year. It was a very easy book, and that feels weird to say because it's about a not easy topic, it's about grief, but I thought it was handled really well. I appreciated that it was quite overwhelming, that the character didn't get over it quickly. She was still grieving for like most of the book, and I thought how the flashbacks kind of interspersed with the current present narrative was quite clever, because the past related to the present things that were happening and made one thing make sense. I thought it was quite an interesting portrayal of bisexuality, because it's all about how it's not an easy process. It's not like you just come out and that's it. I saw a post about, not about the book, but about something the other day, about how when you are not straight, you are constantly coming out as gay, how you have to explain it to everyone. And I felt this was quite interesting because when you are bisexual, you have quite often been with someone of one gender before, and people automatically make assumptions about what that means. And so I thought it was quite interesting to just read a kind of coming out story, but a coming out at your own pace. So many young adult stories involve characters who are like outed before their time, and so it was refreshing to see characters do it when they wanted to, who they wanted to, and do it in a not necessarily ideal position, but in a way that worked. There was also an asexual character in this who I really liked. I thought it was just a very good representation of them. It wasn't that, I don't know if the character is necessarily asexual or whether she is something more, but she just kind of is going through her own exploration, and it was just nice to see just more than one gay character. The next book I read was Athena's Choice by Boostrom. This I got from NetGalley as an audiobook. It was a read now audiobook, and I thought, why not pick this up? This is on my ebook shelf anyway. And I rated it about 2 stars because the book is about this world where men don't exist anymore. There was a kind of disease that wiped out all men, and I think wiped out some women and trans men, and so it's only women left, and then a genome is stolen which could potentially bring the men back. I think, can't remember, been too long apparently. And so we follow this girl called Athena who has to make a choice at the end, and the choice at the end was very interesting. I thought how it was handled, I just thought the ending generally was very good. It kind of leaves it open for the reader to make their own decisions, but I just couldn't get over the fact that this was a world with only women in it, but a man wrote it. Now, that could be fine. Like, I'm not saying that men can't write women, because that's not true. But the character spent like a couple of pages staring at herself in the mirror. The first thing she noticed about anyone was their appearance, that she is a woman who is interested in getting the men back because she wants to know what their presence was like, what their what it's like to love them, what it's like to be in a relationship with them. And so it almost felt a bit like a man writing a women's only story and telling women about how important they are, how vital they are for women to enjoy themselves, to be happy, and it felt a bit iffy. And then there was also just like a weird bit where the author was describing a sandwich and like the sandwich melting on their tongue, and I'm like, who talks about sandwich like that? And so making that kind of connection about the man writing a woman kind of ruined my enjoyment of the rest of the book, and so I don't know what I would have thought had I not kind of made that connection, because everyone else seems to have enjoyed it, but it frustrated me that that was a thing I noticed, because like the author couldn't do anything, but it could have been a really interesting concept, and I feel like it should have been. I just made a mess of it. At this point I read my half book, which was a sample of Raybearer by Jordan Ifueko. This is about a girl who has always wanted to be a part of a family because she's been brought up by an absent mother, and when she gets to this palace to be part of a prince's kind of family, his close and loyal friends, she has to kill him, but she doesn't know that and is trying to resist kind of this feeling in her bones that she doesn't know about. Now this was only the sample, and so I feel like I can't give a proper summary, and I picked it up because I had it on my anticipated reads of the year. There's a lot of anticipated reads this month and next month. I have a lot for next month too. But I was just getting into it as the sample ended. I will link down below a kind of read with me video, and if you go to like the last 30 seconds, suddenly the book ends and I'm like, but where is the rest? I was just getting really into the like kind of folklore kind of world building of it, and the council that the main character wants to become a part of really interested me because it almost felt a bit, I don't know if it was polyamorous, but it looked like it had lots of characters and they were all meant to love, like they were all meant to be the parents of the prince, and I was really invested to find out more about that, and then it just finished and I was sad, and I feel like I'm gonna rate this 5 stars, but I don't know, I'm kind of really excited to read it more and I really want to pick it up, but Fairy Loot are doing a special edition and so I also want to get that, and I think I'm going to wait to get that because I know if I were to pick it up I'd read it straight away, but I'm like, I have other things I need to read so I don't need to pick it up straight away. The next book I finished was The Tigers in the Tower by Julia Golden. This is about a girl called Samira who was travelling over to London from India. She was travelling with her parents who were bringing a whole menagerie of animals, but the parents died on the journey, and so she is left with the tigers and the monkeys and the parrots that she has to get to London. When she gets to London, of course, she doesn't have any parents or any family, so she has to navigate this new scary world on her own. I rated this one 3 stars. I enjoyed the ending and I enjoyed the characters, but it was a very hard book to read. It's set in an orphanage and Samira goes through so many horrible things. It kind of reads like a Dickensian, Victorian, Edwardian kind of children's book where it's technically about children but it's very dark and grim and sad, and you kind of don't want kids to read it because you don't know what they'll think. There's a lot of content warnings in this, obviously including parents' death. There's also bullying and kind of physical abuse. But the character of Samira is just so strong. The fact that she carries on, she just lifts her chin up high and just carries on. She's in a new scary world and she just is very brave, and I felt proud of her. She was a good character and she would be a good role model for any children wanting to read this. And then I loved her relationship with Ned and also with the tigers. It was very cute and I was really happy with the ending. It felt satisfying and it felt rewarding after the beginning she got. The next book I read was also a middle grade book. It was The Beast and the Bethany by Meggitt-Phillips. I have a review of this on my blog, which I'll link down below, because I was part of the Write Reads tour for it. And it was a very fun book about a guy called Ebenezer Tweezer who has a beast in his attic who he feeds all manner of exotic things, and in return the beast spits out anything he wants, and once a year it spits out a eternal youth kind of potion, but like not an eternal youth, just kind of an eternal 1 year. So Ebenezer is actually 511 years old. He's just coming up to his 512th birthday and the beast decides he wants to eat a child. So Ebenezer quite cleverly goes to an orphanage and chooses the most snotty, horrible, bratty child he can find, and that child is Bethany. However, the more time he spends with Bethany, the more he realises Bethany might actually not be a snack and might actually be a friend. I rated this one 5 stars. I thought it was a very easy, very fun read. The character of the Beast of Bethany and Ebenezer were all really fun. They were all their own individual characters. I thought Bethany was a bit like Tracy Beaker. I thought the writing style was a bit like Roald Dahl and Lemony Snicket. The story is a bit like The Picture of Dorian Gray. It's just a weird mishmash of so many different things, and it was very easy to read. The ending really surprised me, kind of left a little cliffhanger, a little snippet of more just at the end. And I was really excited to read it, and I'm very excited to see where it goes, and I hope everyone else that reads it after me enjoys it just as much. The penultimate book I finished was The Saturday Morning Park Run by Jules. This was a romance. I was really feeling romance, so I requested a couple of romances from NetGalley, and this was one I was approved for because it sounded not too much like a romance. It basically has a high flyer who loses her job and who has to look after her two nieces, another high flyer who ghosted her, and an old lady who decides to bring them all together. There's also a dog, and it was just wonderful. I didn't expect to like it as much, but I rated it 5 stars, and it's one of those ones that I kind of want to buy physically because I think my nan would love it. It was more about the family and the friendships than the romance. The romance happened, but the romance happened quite naturally, and I didn't hate it, and it just made me feel all warm inside. It was just a very happy book. And it kind of made me want to run, but it's been about a week and a half since I finished it and that hasn't happened, so who knows if it will. The final book I read in August, I actually finished about 11:45, which is great. I very rarely finish all my books before I go into the next month, but I technically finished it like before midnight, so I'm really pleased with myself. And that was The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. I started reading this in July and then got 100 pages in and just put it down and didn't get to pick it up, and I don't know why. And so I really wanted to read it this month because I was reading it for a couple of book clubs, but I just wasn't picking up physical books, and so I didn't know what to do, so I picked up the audiobook, which I'm very torn about audiobooks because I like having fantasy audiobooks because they're so long and you feel satisfied, you feel like you've got your money's worth when it's like a 15-hour book and you get it for free. And so I usually pick them up, but then I tend to find that I don't enjoy them as much because I can't concentrate as much. I tend to do it when I'm tidying or walking around, but I just didn't concentrate as much as I felt I should have done, but I did very much enjoy it. I don't know what to say it's about because it's one of those books that they say you should like not know about, but it follows 3 characters in this world where there's a 5th season with earthquakes and things, and I feel like that's what you need to know. It's by a black non-binary author and very good. There were a lot of plot twists in this I just didn't expect, and then when they did come, because I was listening to the audiobook, they didn't hit me, and like one happened and I was like, oh, that seems familiar, I'll ponder on that. And then a couple of days later I was like, hold up, what was that? And it really surprised me. And then something else happened and I was like, I knew to listen more carefully by that point, so I did get that one, but I was still quite shook. And then the writing style was quite interesting. I think the world building was very good, and I will definitely be reading the next ones full stop, but I will also definitely be reading them physically. I think taking my time with them was quite a good thing, and so I don't know if I will get the audiobook again, but I did really enjoy it. I am looking forward to seeing where it goes. It left a lot of strands that were mysterious and unanswered at the end of the book, and so yeah, I very much enjoyed it. I didn't rate it as highly as I thought just because, yeah, I not struggled with the audiobook, but the audiobook kind of limited my experience. I don't know necessarily what I thought of the writing style. I didn't think it was complicated because I got through the first 100 pages quite quickly, but it's quite dense and it introduces a lot of new words, but there was a glossary at the back which was very helpful. But yeah, I enjoyed it. So yes, that was my reading in August. They were all non-physical apart from The Beast and the Bethany, which was a proof. I need to pick up a lot more physical books in September, but we're on day 3 and it hasn't happened yet, but I really want to because I have a lot of books physically that I want to read, but fingers crossed we will. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Comment down below to let me know you're here. Let me know if you enjoyed any of these books or if you want to pick them up. Subscribe if you're not already, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!